So here's some price for Monday, November 17th, 2025, presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price virtually. Four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson hitting switches, conducting things. We got a big show for you coming out of a busy weekend in the world of sports. A lot of fun on the weekend watching all these games and even some championship trophies lifted by Vancouver teams. Alas, not the Canucks. A long way to go before their trophy is
not trophy, not trophy caliber, really.
Well, no, but a very good weekend for the Canucks. We're going to talk about that in a moment. A very good weekend for Elias Pettersson, and he features in the Redwoods Golf Course poll question today. We're asking you, after three straight multi-point games, Elias Pettersson's on pace for 70 points here, everybody. Lo and behold, where does he finish? You can vote over, you can vote under. Do so at the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. Blake Price, how was your weekend?
My weekend was fine, I suppose.
Blake lifted a trophy too, Mike, or at least his girls lifted a trophy in field hockey. So congratulations to the two young ones. I hear their coaches were okay as well.
Well, no, I wasn't coaching this one. I coached the junior team, not the senior team. But yeah, the two of them were in the BC Provincials and won a field hockey championship again with Handsworth. So congrats to them. A lot of fun out in rainy Timanawis, Surrey. But as for the rest of the weekend, they had a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And, the Canucks end up with 3 out of 4 points. We see Quinn Hughes get a boatload of points here again. And, I don't know what to make of this team, man. This team is a zig when you expect a zag. There's a lot of stuff going their way. We'll get into that when we crave the stats a little bit later. But it is. I'll say this: through 20 games, for them to be 9-9-2, it's impressive because it doesn't feel like 9-9-2. So great for them that they got to 9-9-2 despite all the injuries, despite all the performances where they probably shouldn't have won games, but they did. And hey. They're finding a way to stay alive and keep their head above water. Look at the teams in the East. There's the same old, the Sabres, last place in the Eastern Conference. Like, imagine what that market's going through right now. The Toronto Maple Leafs. Was Mitch Marner the glue that held that team together? Look at them. They're second last in the Eastern Conference.
And Marner has a record now for most points to start a season for a Vegas Golden Knight.
So you think about all those storylines. Of
course, it was never about the regular season with Mitch Marner. He was always going to pile up the points of the regular season, I think.
No, but at this point, are they going to have a postseason?
Fair enough. First, you have to get to the postseason to be able to criticize someone in the postseason. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How about your weekend? What'd you get up to?
Not a whole lot. We had a wonderful morning at the Pemby watching NFL football yesterday. Other than that, just stayed pretty quiet, close. I had a Grey Cup party at my parents' house yesterday with some friends, so that was fun. But yeah, this time of year, weather gets a little, and of course, December's going to be an expensive month, right?
Is the tree up?
Tree's up. Yeah, tree is up. We. So this is the second year with the cats in the tree. Last year they did reasonably well. Tree didn't come toppling down at an inopportune time, but they are curious. And so the tree is up. We're going to let them get accustomed to the tree before we start decorating, and then I believe the decorations will be right at the top of the tree and out of reach, lest they get any ideas. So, yes,
I
tree
need
is
to
up.
strap
She's
it
very
down.
happy about that.
I need to strap it down, some stain wire.
Honestly,
maybe.
we went to my mother's house yesterday. She got an itty-bitty tree. She's got an old cat that is not prone to mischief, and she had her strapped down, and I'm like, we may need to go there as well. Where are you on the poll question? You over or under on PD and 70 points?
I can't imagine him going better than he did in these 20 games. I really can't. I think this is probably it. So I'm going to say under. Because I can't see him picking up this pace any more than he did. I mean, good on him to get these 6 points to salvage, this 20 game set. Like, I mean, Matt, think about the projections. If he just merely has a 3-game point streak, one in each of these games, he's at 14 points in 20 games, and he's projecting to under 60. So, like, these 3 games really move the needle here. I'm going to say under.
I'm going to say over. And I'm going to say over because I can see a world where he is better than this. Let's remember, he has had to do all of the heavy lifting defensively and in the face-off circle because the Canucks have been decimated at the center ice position. We heard good news this weekend from Patrick Allvin, and that Filip Chytil is skating. They've also signed David Kampf, who is a penalty kill and face-off specialist. I imagine that should allow Elias more opportunity to start his shifts in the offensive zone. We have also seen a number of the higher-scoring Canucks miss games already this season. Quinn Hughes has missed 5 games. Besser's missed a couple of games. Garland has missed a few games and may miss more going forward. So I think the combination of better health throughout the Canucks lineup should have a ripple effect for Elias. And put it this way, Blake, if he's under 70, there's no chance they're making the playoffs. So I think he's going to be over 70. I'm not sure I would go over a point per game right now, but I think he'll be over 70.
Okay. All right. We'll see. It's going to be a big the next quarter, I think, tells the tale. Like he's got to be at least at this pace for the next quarter.
Our friends at the Redwoods Golf Course specialize in custom corporate events, and with a few wrinkles, they can make it a whole lot of fun. They have that large, heated, covered driving range. So why don't you work some golf lessons into your next event? Have some fun with the folks at the office out at the driving range. Our buddy Craig, the lead teaching professional at Redwoods, can help you out there as well. They've got a food and beverage component that they can work into your event. And if you're a parent of a child between the ages 6 and 16, set them up for the sport of a lifetime. Private and semi-private lessons are available there at the Redwoods. Go to redwoods-golf.com. Let's get to our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Schweiner, and we got a delivery from our buddy Dan Cahill of Yellow Dog on Friday. So we got a full fridge over there, Blake, for your return.
Very nice.
Dan was also very happy, an Irishman, with the events of this weekend in soccer. Yes. More on that later in the program. But our top story, comeback Canucks. Tough schedule, tough team. They just kept competing and fighting, and good on them. And credit to Adam Foote and his staff and these gentlemen, because this was pretty daunting on the way in. A whole lot went against them in both games, and yet they just kept scrapping. They take 3 out of 4 points from the Carolina Hurricanes and Tampa Bay Lightning. No slouches. Play their best period of the season undeterred in Tampa against the Lightning Sunday, turn a 2-0 deficit earlier in the game into a 6-2 victory. They go back and forth in Raleigh on Friday night, get the lead, lose the lead, lost the lead in the third. They drop a point in the overtime with the loss, but excellent signs from goaltender Kevin Lankinen, who plays both of these games in place of an injured Thatcher Demko and reminds us of the guy we saw early last season who tended the goal so splendidly. Your take on the weekend that was for the Canucks, Blake?
Well, Lankinen loves him some October, November hockey generally, and maybe this is him finding his stride just a little bit. Maybe he needs a little bit of adversity thrown his way. He rose to the occasion during the early portions of Demko's injury last year, so maybe that's what we're seeing here, just a little bit more locked in. Hey, they bucked a trend. They were, if not the worst third period team in the league, they're very close to it. And having a huge third period versus Tampa, again, a lot went right. The planets aligned for them. They scored on their chances. Tampa didn't on theirs. And that tells the tale there. This is going to need to be seen over a far broader swath of games for, I think, people to really buy in. I mean, this is still a 500 team, 9-9-2. But, hey, if they win this one today, they're 7-4-1 on the road. Like, that's a really nice road record. And you are almost a third of the way through your road schedule at that point. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Like, that's an unbelievable accomplishment for a team that's facing this much adversity. And generally, a team that does not boast a lot of depth is going to get eaten alive on the road because of matchup problems. That hasn't been the case through a dozen games potentially here for the Vancouver Canucks.
Mm-hmm. A 4-point night in Tampa for Captain Quinn Hughes in his return to the lineup as the Canucks score 5 times in the final frame to win. More on that period in a second, but let's first hear from the captain. And Blake, the dour, sour guy of last week and most of this season was gone. Take a listen.
And I've missed 5. Where obviously I want to be playing in every game, but I feel good, feel healthy. I was excited to be back out there, and with the Olympics this year and the shortened schedule, it's really tough to get your body feeling good every night. So I think that's the main goal that I'm trying to do.
Love hearing him upbeat again. Victory music in the back, right? Because Brad Pitt taught us. What's the sound of losing, Blake? That's the sound of losing. Didn't love the fact that with the Olympics, your body is not going to feel right. Boy, it sounds like he's already going through this do-si-do with his body, trying to keep it ready and in game shape to play all these Canucks games, much like we saw at different points in the second half last year. But let's get into this third period for a second. Kiefer Sherwood with his 12th goal. MacEachern with a goal and an assist. More on him in a moment. Drew O'Connor scores again, and he picked the right, we said it last week, he picked the right time to raise his level. Canucks sure needed scoring and help throughout the lineup, and Drew O'Connor has stepped up in that regard. Linus Karlsson gets a goal. It was a scoring change there that gets Karlsson the goal, his second of the year. And Marcus Pettersson, his first of the season into an empty net. Is the first time all season the Canucks have scored 6 goals in a game. It is the first time all season they have scored 5 goals in a period. Elias Pettersson, we mentioned the 3 straight multi-point games. It includes a goal and 5 helpers, so that's 6 points over the streak. Jake DeBrusk has now 5 goals in the last 7 games and has been a big reason why this power play looks a whole lot better. He's scoring all sorts of goals with the man advantage. I mean, Sherwood,
streaky goal scorer going streaking, right? We warned that this was going to happen. Yeah.
Although Sherwood's now a streaky guy too, only streaky in one way. He had three goals in his last 4. MacEachern's goal, Blake, his first in the regular season since February 27th, 2021 with the St. Louis Blues. So he goes more than a quadrennial between goals. He did score a playoff goal for Carolina in 2023. He's earning ice time. He's earning ice time over Surrey's Arshdeep Bains. And head coach Adam Foote was asked about him in the postgame last night. Here's coach on the journeyman winger, Mackenzie MacEachern.
This video's taking a second to play here. Hang on. We got it.
All right, ready?
Yeah, I think it's going to work.
That wasn't the video.
Doesn't seem to
Yeah,
work.
we'll get to Adam.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Now it works.
he's a little bit older and he's heavy on pucks and very disciplined in the system and the structure. And, it's nice to see him have some success today.
Yeah, he is older and he is heavy on pucks. He wins some board battles, and we know how important that was to the former Canucks head coach Rick Talk, and of course Adam Foote on that staff. So we'll see if he can keep on keeping on. But again, another guy who has stepped up here in the absence of others to help make the Vancouver Canucks a competitive team, as you say, Blake, 9-2, a quarter of the way into the NHL.
But it's also
season.
Bottom line from a player doing good work. Whenever people talk about, the motors running on a certain player, you generally will get rewarded if you do those things enough and do the right things enough. And, for every AHL guy that's trying to make an impact on this team, like, look at what MacEachern's doing, going hard to the net, and good things are happening for this guy. Bottom line does matter. Good habits matter. The underlying stats are your good habits, but ultimately do need to help out the team. And it's hard to take a guy like that out of the lineup when he's actually jumping on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm. Now, to say the least, it was not always pretty. In fact, do we have the Quadrelli tweet, Mike? Can we put that up for those on visual platforms? The Carolina Hurricanes on Friday had 94 shot attempts on the Vancouver Canucks. Now, a little bit of context here. Carolina is a shoot the puck from everywhere type of team. They tend to have a lot of shot attempts, but it was 38 shots on the goal. It was 33 attempts blocked. It was 23 attempts that missed the net. All told, as Quadrelli points out here, 94 shot attempts against the Canucks ties a franchise record. It has happened 3 times before. And then over the totality of the weekend, and Thomas Drance has done the math here, the Vancouver Canucks were out-attempted 138-51. They were outshot 56-25 at 5-on-5. Outshot 69-35 overall, so nearly doubled up. One shot away from being doubled up over the course of the weekend. Lankinen makes the 34 saves in Raleigh. He makes 21 in Tampa, and somehow, some way, that process winds up with 3 points out of 4.
We should point out we're mixing situations there. The 94 is across all situations. Thomas saying 138, that's just at 5-on-5. So if you're wondering, no, they didn't just Tampa didn't have just 45 shot attempts. That was at 5-on-5 as opposed to all situations. But the point is still taken that the Canucks were greatly fortunate, as we will point out and crave the stats as well in just a second.
Yeah.
Means that.
Yeah, well, just getting back on that Hughes thing, he apparently woke up from his nap on Friday night, didn't feel quite right, and so they scratched him versus the Hurricanes, played him against Tampa, so that I think also feeds into what he was talking about, the day-to-day. It's hard to get your body right for these NHL games with just how quickly they are coming. I also want to point out, Andrei Svechnikov is a terrific hockey player. We saw that on Friday. Boy, he was really dancing and scoring and deserved got himself all over the score sheet. That was a terrible elbow to the head of Philip Hronek.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that goes completely. I mean, how is that not targeting the head, like throwing an elbow right to the side of his head? So I was really surprised, dismayed, and continued to not completely understand NHL player safety and supplemental discipline when, I mean, it's clear as a bell. He takes his elbow and he brings it up and drives it into Hronek's head on the boards. I mean, this after a 2-goal, 3-point performance from, again, a terrific hockey player who, frankly, should have been suspended or at the very least fined for this.
Well, you get suspended for things that you don't necessarily mean to come off as they came off. I mean, if you're going to tell me that he's that Hronek puts his head into a vulnerable spot and the Svechnikov's going to brace himself against the cloud. All those things can be true, but ultimately what happened is what happened. And I don't think anybody would have blinked an eye if he got a one-gamer. Like, I don't think that would have been odd at all.
That's it. Like, it's not like he's got his elbow tucked, and as you say, Roenick puts himself in a vulnerable position, and there's contact between the elbow and the head. That he lifts the elbow up to get its parallel with the head, and then drives it into Roenick. So, like, for me, that's intentional. That's targeting the head. It's plain as day. This league, man, sometimes. Okay, tell us about Yellow Dog, and then, yes, we'll get into Crave the Stats and some more on a busy weekend with the Canucks.
Yellow Dog Brewing has released the Starborn Kolsch. This brew features 4 lucky furry friends from the Make My Pet a Yellow Dog Brewing Star contest. And it's time to introduce you to Aardvark, Mr. Eyeball, Ben, and Lizzie. Through this collaborative fundraising event with the BCSPCA, Yellow Dog raised a total of $265,340 over its history. So everybody raised their Kolsch to Starborn, and the beautiful animals supporting the BCSPCA. And good luck to, again, Aardvark, Mr. Eyeball, Ben, and Lizzie.
Jeff mentioned on Friday, Aardvark. That's an unusual name for a dog or a cat, because cats have infiltrated the voting. Yeah, exactly.
We'll dig up some pictures. Yeah.
Okay, let's get to Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats. Blake, what are we looking at here? Heat maps? What you got?
Heat maps and the line graph of where this Lightning game went. And that is to say, there wasn't actually that much of a comeback for the Vancouver Canucks. They lost this game on the stats sheet from the very beginning. So you can talk about a comeback. You can talk about how they reeled off 6 straight goals. All that is right there. They did. But they did it against the flow of play, against all the stats. Tampa really didn't get that much worse. They owned the expected goals. They owned the Corsi for, particularly in that first period, 24-9 shot advantage, 18-4 high danger. And Matt, they had an 81.82 Corsi for percentage share. The expected goals for percentage share, 94.76. There was only one team on the ice in the first period. And given where they were getting their chances, look at the heat map. It is glowing on top of Kevin Lankinen. And the Vancouver Canucks, it's pretty tepid over in their end of the ice. So, hey, great that they got the comeback. But that is not the recipe on how to win hockey games. That's not going to happen again. I mean it. That game, as it came down, that will not happen, not even one more time, because that was sheer and utter domination by the Lightning, and somehow it ends 6-2 Canucks. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I heard Sean McVay, the Rams coach, yesterday say something about we're never going to apologize for some statistical oddity in that Rams-Seahawks game. I imagine that Adam Foote would say the same thing. Sometimes you have to be lucky. You bank your points when you are lucky. The Canucks were every bit that over the course of the weekend, given the totality of play from both opponents that went against them. But here they are, still fighting and still scrapping.
In that one game alone, Matt, Lankinen posted a 2.34 goals save above expected. So he saved the bacon.
He did. And may very well be an Uber Eats evening for us in our household today with this 4 p.m. game against the Panthers.
Bad idea. Game day deals on the app. Download it today and never miss out on what could be a much easier evening in your kitchen. Uber Eats enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long. Exclusive game day deals only on the app.
Okay, the game today in Florida, and needless to say, this is going to be difficult. The second of a back-to-back, 3rd in 4. Connor Garland is questionable after leaving Sunday in the second period. We are anticipating newcomer David Kampf to make his Vancouver Canucks debut after being signed on the weekend. More on the ex-Leaf penalty killing face-off center iceman here in a moment. But that, of course, getting him in the lineup requires opening of a roster spot. Blake, unless I've missed something in the 20-25 minutes that we have been up and going here, have the Canucks announced anything roster-wise in advance
I
of this
have not
game?
seen
I have not
anything.
seen
No game-day skate to give us any indication of anything
Right.
either. So it's going to be a wait-and-see sort of prospect.
I know JPat and the RinkWide crew were talking yesterday that it may very well be Victor Mancini, who you do want to see get some games at this stage of the season. So maybe Mancini gets dispatched back to Abbey, but who knows? There may be some other balls at play here for Adam Foote, Patrick Allvin, and the Vancouver Canucks. Let's hear from the general manager. He conducted a short Zoom on Saturday after the Canucks signed veteran center iceman David Kampf, whose contract was terminated by the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll start with the GM saying he's more than just a face-off and penalty-killing guy. Here's Allvin.
Yes, and I think also the experience. If you're looking down the lineup, I think our young guys have taken steps and played well. But I think in the game, you need an experienced guy. With him having 500+ games, very reliable. The communication here with Adam and what Adam seen in David and the familiarity here, we felt that he will upgrade or lineup, and then it's up to the coach how to use him and where to play him here.
Yeah, he's played 536 NHL games. He's got 48 points and 143 total, 48 goals and 143 total points in that time. His career high was 11 goals in 21-22 with the Leafs. His career high points was 27 the subsequent year with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Last year for the Leafs, Blake, Kampf played 12 minutes and 24 seconds per night over 59 games, got 5 goals and 8 assists, has been a penalty-killing guy over the course of his career, and I imagine you will see him in that role for the Vancouver Canucks as well. As a matter of fact, he was the second most used penalty killer for the Leafs last season, averaging more than 2 minutes per night on the PK. Not
worthwhile,
sure
under the cap limit, easy to demote if you need to. But he's a
$1 million.
center that can win you the odd draw. Like this is a free acquisition. It made absolutely. He is what Niels Amon was aspiring to be,
right,
effectively, and except he knows how to do it at the NHL level. So, the curious part will be, when Bluger is healthy, are they going to run both of them?
Yeah, because he's kind of like Teddy Bluger. He's 30 years old. It was a 1-year deal at $1.1 million. So as Blake points out, you can bury the entirety of this salary in Abbotsford if you can get him down there. Of course, he'll require waivers, although he did pass through waivers, albeit with a year left on his term.
That's right, different contract. Yeah.
So he's probably a little more claimable in this incarnation than he was with a year of term left. Look, this is probably not a signing the Vancouver Canucks make if they don't have injuries to Filipino and to Teddy Bluger. And Teddy Bluger has suffered a setback, everybody, because you'll remember a couple of weeks ago, Adam Foote was saying we're going to get Garland back and then Bluger will be the next one. Now Patrick Allvin saying Bluger is week to week. So I hear you in terms of, is this just a redundant Teddy Bluger? Is this just basically Teddy Bluger light to patch the dam while he's on the mend? The other possibility there would be Ratu as well, Blake. And I know we're all cheering for Ratu as a younger player who's got more of an NHL future and perhaps an even up the lineup NHL future compared to some of his compadres in the bottom six with the Vancouver Canucks right now. But could you see a world where they dress both of these centers, Bluger and Kampf, when Bluger's ready to go? And Ratu is the guy who takes a seat from time to time.
I can't see that, no, because you need at least half of your centers to be able to put up points, and Ratu would be the other center that puts up points. I mean, if they're still running Reichel as a center at that point, Reichel has no bottom line. As much as he's got a lot of tools in the toolbox, he cannot put up any bottom line right now, and you can't then have 3 centers out of your 4 that are not dependable to put up any. But not that Ratu's coming fast and furious with the points, but they are there at the least. Reichel is not. So no, I think it's Reichel that would come out, and it would be Pettersson, Ratu, and then the 2 defensive centers. And it's not ideal, but
no, it's not.
I think they're forced to.
Yeah, and I hear you. Reichel playing a minute per night more than Ratu is right now, 14 and change. Ratu just at 13 in change. Ratu's a +3. Reichel's a -3 on the season. Ratu with the 6 points. Reichel with just the 1 in 12 games for the Vancouver Canucks. Look, the other domino effect of the David Kampf signing is that you are hoping that he allows Elias Pettersson to play the offensive side of the puck a little bit more often. Got a couple of tweets here from Adam Kirsenblatt of the Hockey News would like to present. Look at the defensive lift that is being required for Elias Pettersson with Hedel and Bluger out of the lineup. He is starting less than 3 out of every 10 shifts in the offensive zone. He is starting 70+% of his shifts in either the neutral or the defensive zone, with the defensive zone getting the preponderance of shift starts at 40%. And then there was this from Adam as well. Pettersson is on pace to break the record for blocks in a season by a forward. Who had that on the bingo card at the beginning of the year? Elias Pettersson to set the NHL record for shot blocks by a forward in a season. He is on pace for 107. Like, he's on a Kiefer Sherwood pace. Remember hits last year where Sherwood was just so far ahead away of the pace for most hits in a season? Pettersson, if it keeps going at this rate, 170 shot blocks, more than 2 per game. Alex Tuch's league record is just 113. So
he's very good at timing it. He never makes it look like it's dangerous. Like he doesn't lay down like a Chris Tanev where you're just like, oh my God. He times it perfectly.
Blake, but still.
He takes it right on the front of the shins for the most part, or on the toe cap of the skates, and you do still worry about a broken foot, but for the most part, I don't know that I've seen him block shots where I've winced a whole lot.
No, you're right about that. It's just there's a law of averages effect here. If you're going to block 170 of them over the course of the season, all you need is one to hit in the wrong spot, and the next thing that was the other thing that Patrick Allvin was talking about on Saturday when he was questioned by Canucks media, and that was the whole notion of Kampf being able to take some of the defensive matchups and pressure off of Elias Pettersson and his line. Here's the GM.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's what David has shown in the league, that he's a very reliable player. Strong on face-off, and particularly strong on face-off on the kill there. So definitely helps with the ice time and starting in D zones. To your point for Elias there too.
Whatever helps Elias get to that over on the poll question.
Yeah, to say the least here. And look. Talking about this Elias Pettersson season, I think you do have to consider it in the context of missing those 2 center icemen and what that has required for him over the course of this opening 20 games for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, there is another report out there about the Canucks not being done looking for upgrades and potentially center ice upgrades. Let's bring this up, Mike. This is from RG Media. Mark D'Amico there with the report that the Canucks and the Canadiens have asked the Buffalo Sabres about the availability of Tage Thompson. Buffalo unwilling to discuss Thompson or engage in trade talks right now. That may have to wait until the new general manager. I know Jarmo Kekalainen is advising that franchise now, former Columbus GM. Kevin Adams appears to be on a very short lease. Tage Thompson, most everybody who has watched the Sabres will tell you, look, he's a better winger than he is a center. He spent 37% of his time at center this year. The rest spent on the wing, but this is an outstanding hockey player. He's got 4 more years on his deal after this one, paying him $7.14 million, a huge body at 6'6" and 220 pounds, a right shot as well. I mean, I think the Canucks probably look at this guy as help at center ice. He was 44 goals last year, 72 points. He's got a 94.47 goal season on his docket, Blake, and he's a candidate for the United States Olympic team. So this is a gargantuan trade that cost them all sorts of assets. And
that's the
our
thing.
first.
That's
And Blake, it's our first chance to talk about what you heard out of Jim Rutherford in that Ian McIntyre interview that he did on Sportsnet late last week, where he talked about being unwilling to trade the likes of Tom Willander and Braden Coots and some of the good young players they have in the organization, talking about being stuck, being a little bit stuck in terms of what they do. Now, I know 3 of 4 points over the weekend changes the tenor, changes the storyline a bit, but, Jeff and I were looking around that interview and had to stop ourselves a few times going, what in the hell is Jimmy talking about? What was your reaction to what you heard out of Rutherford late last week?
Well, I don't believe it. I mean, I think it's what he has to say right now to keep the nest, in good harmony right now, and to not, ruffle feathers here. But if there is a good opportunity to acquire the kind of player that he wants, using the likes of Willander, and I think it's an or situation. I don't think he wants to package 2 of these guys, but if one of them is needed in order to consummate one of the trades that is being bandied about, I can only imagine that trade will happen. Tage Thompson is an almost impossible ask, though, because of his age. There is no downside to this player right now. You're not buying low in any way, shape, or form. And this is a Buffalo Sabres team that we've already mentioned is in last place in the Eastern Conference. They are not looking to rebuild once more. They might be looking for different chemistry, as they did with the Dylan Cousins-Josh Norris trade, but my God, they're not looking for futures. They just want to find a different mix that they hope will hit and make them better. So, you're not just taking Tage Thompson and adding him to the roster that you see before you if you're the Vancouver Canucks. So even if
you're subtracting
multiple pieces.
That's like, you're right. The Cousins Norris trade. If Elias were to move his to waive his no move to go, it's that sort of trade for the Vancouver Canucks. I can understand them calling in Buffalo. Buffalo, they don't want to rebuild, but they may be forced into another season where they're playing for the future. There were 3 things out of Rutherford on Friday that really had Jeff and I scratching our heads, Blake. I'm going to read you the quotes because maybe you can find an interpretation here that Jeff and I didn't. But he talks about what they're hoping to do this season. Best case scenario, players get back, get another center, take our best crack at the playoffs. And McIntyre asks him, and what if that doesn't work? The quote, then the downside of it is stay the course, stick with what I just said, and we miss the playoffs. So we win the lottery and get a top 5 pick and keep building a team that is relatively young, where most of our players are in their 20s. Just keep adding good players. The whole we win the lottery and get a top 5 pick line was getting a lot of scrutiny last week in terms of that's not a plan. Like, what's Jim talking about? That you finish 15th and you get your 2% chance of moving up 10 spots like Utah did. And I didn't quite understand that one fully outside of hope is not a plan. And this seemed like a lot of wish betting.
It's just more or nothing. Like, he hedged his bets. He said both things. He said, well, we can either wait and find the right guy and we improve, or we don't. We stay the course. And then he gives the pie in the sky scenario. So I think he's just showing that he knows where all the doors are to walk through, but he's unwilling to say which door they are going to walk through. But
Yeah.
I think he's just outlining what we all know to be true already, that they have a lot of paths ahead of them. We want to know which one they're going to go on, but they're not committing to one path. Right?
Yeah. The second thing was when he said Quinn Hughes' future will not direct team building, which he had actually said in the past he would have an effect. But now all of a sudden, Quinn Hughes' future isn't going to affect or direct the team building. Did you get that one at all?
The only mental gymnastics I can do there is that, if they have to make a Quinn Hughes trade, he envisions that he gets a roster player back in the package, and wherever you are in your arc, you're probably within arm's reach of that position still, even after the trade, because you've got somebody coming in that is not Quinn Hughes, but can play the game at an NHL level fairly well, and you're not taking that much of a step back.
So is he? Oh God! So he's potentially forecasting a Quinn Hughes trade for right now, win now pieces.
Well, no, I think any trade like that, Matt. I think you trade
you're getting NHL roster a piece at least. I would think in that deal.
That's right.
But
please
don't tell me the
pick and player.
But please don't tell me the Vancouver Canucks are going to be like, oh, Quinn Hughes doesn't want to re-sign here. Let's trade him for a 32-year-old center and
No.
Because we need to win right now. I do wonder, and I didn't get to that Friday. It dawned on me later, oh, my God, is that what he's talking about? That might just be the last straw for a lot of Canucks fans if that sort of trade goes down. And then lastly, did you hear the Suter part, the Pius Suter part? Quote, he was a guy that we thought we were still in on when he went to St. Louis, and I know he wanted to come back here. There seemed to be some miscommunication on term and what it eventually ended up. We would have considered bringing him back, but it didn't work out. And for a moment on Friday, Blake, I was thinking, oh, okay, they were so engaged with that last minute, well, actually beyond the last minute, Brock Besser contract negotiation that for whatever reason they didn't have their ducks in order, and Pius Suter signed with the St. Louis Blues.
They ran out of time.
Right. And then Jeff reminded me, no, Suter didn't sign till 2 days later on July 3rd.
Yeah.
There seemed to be some miscommunication on term. He got a 2-year deal, Blake. The miscommunication was what?
So he thought that it was what? 1 year or bust?
I don't know. But again, good thing the Canucks took 3 or 4 points this weekend, because I think if they hadn't, a lot of people would be looking back on this Rutherford interview today and going, what in the hell was Jimmy talking about? Because, look, he has been honest. He has been more than honest, completely open on a lot of fronts and a lot of files in his 4 years as Canucks president of hockey operations, and we have commended him for a lot of that honesty. Maybe it went too far with Bruce Boudreau. I think it got to the point of being callous with Bruce, and they didn't necessarily understand or accept that. But in terms of the team building and hockey managing side, we've heard a lot from Jim, and a lot of it has been calling his shot, and a lot of it has been good, open, honest discourse about the team for a smart hockey market, and I wholly applaud that. This was the first time that I read or heard something out of Jim Rutherford and said he's beginning to sound like a guy in his mid-70s.
Well, I think he has felt like he's burned himself by saying too much, and I think he tried to give enough details on answers that it sounded like he was saying something, and I think he just hedged himself throughout the entire interview and said all of the things, which really means he said nothing. You know, if you're not committing to one side or the other, he did. He touched on all the topics. He addressed.
He touched them all, Jim. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll give him that.
In the end, you take a step back and you're like, no, there was nothing there.
Yeah. All right. So with that as a backdrop, we forge forward here into the program and today's menu, and it's a shorter show today because of the early start in Florida. We got JPat coming on. And then we have, playing to talk about in the final segment, of course, we had the Grey Cup game yesterday from Winnipeg. We had the Seahawks and Rams game. We had a just zany weekend in the NFL that we'll get to. A Vancouver soccer club has lifted a trophy so far in 2025, hoping to see another one. Finally, game week for the Whitecaps is upon us. We've already mentioned that insane Ireland soccer story that we will get into later in the program, as well as Josh Naylor is back with the Seattle Mariners, so they get an early start on their off-season business. And then we went into the weekend with high hopes for our boy Adam Hadwin of Abbotsford on the PGA Tour. We'll catch up on him and Rory as well. It's all coming up on the program. The menu is brought to you by Greta. A fantastic spot to watch the big game, but did you know an even better spot for your upcoming party or event? If you need a building for if you need a venue for team building or a sociable, check out Greta. They have the fantastic street food menu. Try the smash burger and the arcade. Fun times with a game for everyone that encircles the bar. For more info to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. I was on the Montreal Alouettes in the Grey Cup game, Blake. I was on them with the points. I was on them on the money line. I thought it would be low scoring, but the bets that I did highlight on Friday did not come through. So you've got the team, my friend. What you looking at?
I'm worried that Yuri Patera surprises us in between the pipes. And so with that in mind, I think an anytime goal scorer for a guy like Carter Verhaeghe at plus 190. Marchand's at plus 120, but that's just not big. Sam Reinhart's like even money, basically, to score a goal tonight. I'm going to need a little more value, but I think there could be some goals here. So I'll go Carter Verhaeghe as an anytime goal scorer at plus 190.
So we're on absolutely the same wavelength here, Blake. I like, first of all, the Florida Panthers, even if you're laying goals here, are not plus value. The Florida Panthers to win by 2 is minus 110. So I had to go deeper into the menu. As we know, it's going to be tough for the Canucks tonight in Florida. Second of a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 nights, either an overworked. Have they named Patera the starter?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
So it's either Yuri Patera playing his first game in years, or it's an overworked Kevin Lankinen. I am betting accordingly. No value in the Panthers on any of these regular lines. A 3-goal margin for Florida pays plus 400 tonight. A 4-goal margin for the Panthers pays plus 750 tonight. Hate to go there, but those are the circumstances, I think. And if the Canucks can pull one more rabbit out of a hat, we'll have a happier show tomorrow. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. JPat, coming up next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
And the segment brought to you by Pacific Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a fully electric vehicle, if you want it to be. But it also has the gas backup. So don't get that range anxiety. You can go up to 72 kilometers on the battery alone when you're tootling around the city. If you have that road trip, you have that trip to Whistler, the island, don't worry. You've got gas there to back you up as well. And it is so fun to drive as well. Great cockpit, intuitive tech inside. Go check it out at your Pacific Toyota dealer today. You can lease one right now from $99 weekly at 3.49% for 64 months with $3,600 down. That includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca, but better yet, go visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
I was tootling around the city yesterday, as a matter of fact. Unlike Jeff Patterson, who was anchored to the Pacific Toyota dealer studio after a huge weekend for the Vancouver Canucks with a pair of games and 3 out of 4 points on the road against some quality opponents. He joins us now, the host of RinkWide and our Canucks reporter. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hoping that you guys can help me make sense of whatever that was yesterday. You know, sometimes you're in the bubble, you feel like you're too close to it, and we broke down the game on RinkWide, and then I walked away, and I honestly, I took a sec to shake my head, and how exactly did we arrive at that destination? They needed both electric and gas in that game against
and Mackenzie McEachern.
Running out of gas in the first period, and then they hit some sort of buttons, and one of them was a turbo boost there for a team that struggles as much as they have in third periods to score 5 in the third, 6 unanswered goals, spread the scoring around, you name it. That first period was so dreadful. Like, you can't gloss over how bad the first period was. Full credit to them for getting the victory, but come on, that's not just playing with fire. That is walking into an inferno if they think that they can get by many nights. And to get the captain back, that should have been the boost. Tampa had played the day before. They had a backup goaltender at the other end of the ice. All those things should have mattered to the Canucks and didn't in the opening 20 minutes. But it is a 60-minute game, and as John Cooper said, his team got comfortable 30 minutes into this thing, and he credited the Canucks for playing to the final buzzer.
That's it. I was going to say, I think the lawyer from Prince George hit it on the head, Jeff. One team got comfortable, and in this league, the second that happens, you're done, said John Cooper of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tell me, Jeff, is there something about this team on the road? Why are they better on the road yet again this season as opposed to home ice?
And they're not alone. Have you seen what the Los Angeles Kings are doing and the New York Rangers? We know their struggles on home ice. So the Canucks one is hard. I mean, we've said all along they have to be better at home, and yet they haven't been, with just 3 wins in their 9 games so far on home ice. And the road record, hard to knock, given all of the extenuating circumstances that this team has battled through and dealt with. And look, they haven't played particularly well. The process hasn't been great here on this road trip, but they've got timely saves. Special teams have come through for them in some moments here. Again, spread scoring. You're not expecting 2 points from Mackenzie McEachern and Linus Karlsson finding a way, and Drew O'Connor just keeps on scoring because that's all he seems to do right now. And so, I could sit here and throw 1,000 stats at you that sort of make no sense how this team is 9-9-2 after 20 games. And yet, I suppose nobody accounted for 12 goals from Kiefer Sherwood, and nobody thought that Linus Karlsson would have 6 points at this stage of the season, and on and on it goes. So they have got some nice depth contributions. You're still waiting for the top of the lineup, but that is starting to come now too, obviously, with Quinn performing the way he has, and Elias Pettersson kind of quietly 3 straight multi-point efforts for him. So enough of the top of the lineup, getting a fair bit lower in the lineup. And through it all, enough saves and saves in key moments, because that game at 2-0 certainly was threatening to get away from them. And even at 2-1, Tampa got 2 more power plays. And we know the story of Canucks penalty kill. I thought Adam Foote was right to point to that post game where he gave credit to his penalty killers, something that he hasn't been able to do very often this season. And he talked about the fact they made some tweaks and that Brock Besser and Jake DeBrusk were used a little bit more as penalty killers. Whatever the case, in a 2-1 game, Tampa had 2 power plays, could have extended the lead, didn't. And then the Vancouver Canucks end up winning the special teams battle and winning the hockey game.
A good challenge as well. It was good to take that third goal off the board and restore that little bit of cushion. You mentioned the top of the lineup. Quinn Hughes looked like he deserved almost all of his 4 points. Elias Pettersson, a gift of an assist there at the end. I'm noticing the ramp up of Hughes. When he is available, when he's in the lineup, I am noticing the ramp of his play. Pettersson's not playing bad, but are you noticing an actual ramp up? Are the multi-point games indicative of something going in the right direction? We've asked for bottom line. We didn't care about the little stuff. So I shouldn't talk out of both ends. I don't see the play improving like I do with Hughes.
Well, just you wait till David Kampf takes some of this defensive responsibility. And maybe there will be something to that. But a couple of things jump to mind. One is, like, they got Quinn back after he missed the game in Carolina. He played 9 minutes and 27 seconds of the first period. So he played half the first period, and Tampa still did that to the Vancouver Canucks, which is wild to think that Quinn's out there for half the period and the shots were 13-1. So that didn't make a lot of sense. But then he settled in, the team settled in, the DeBrusk power play goal that got them on the board and gave them some life. And of course, he figures in that. I thought interesting too, Adam Foote talked about how in the first period, he thought Quinn was trying to do too much himself. And then he started to delegate a little bit. And we've said this before, that when Quinn's out of the lineup, sometimes I think guys recognize, okay, he's not here. We've got to do the things that made us great hockey players and got us to the National Hockey League. And so Quinn's back in the lineup, but I do think we're starting to see him move the puck a little bit more. Like, you look at his first 2 assists. In fact, 3 of the 4 were secondary assists, and that's not a knock on Quinn Hughes. But he's moving the puck to somebody else who's then making a play. Like, I think Brock Besser here in recent games, the other night in Carolina, that cross-seam pass to Connor Garland. Yesterday it was to the interior to Kiefer Sherwood. Like, we're starting to see some of the playmaking chops of Brock Besser when we think of him as just a goal scorer, and he has scored his 8 goals this season. So I think Quinn is using his teammates a little bit more and a little more effectively. And that's a good thing. And ultimately, it's hard to knock 7 assists in the last 2 games that he's played. So, it was good to see him back in there. Like, I was a little worried that the way it was sort of presented, he's going to take the pregame warm-up, but will only play if he feels okay. And I thought, okay, that gives them an out that, he's not 100%. We may not see Quinn Hughes in this hockey game. Canucks games are far more entertaining anytime the captain is in the lineup, and obviously they're a better team with him. So, quick turnaround, and we'll see how that body feels and what he's got left in the tank and what they all have left in the tank here, going for a 3rd game in 4 nights against the 2-time defending champs. But where I think we're seeing sort of the Quinn of old is those 3 feet inside the blue line, where he's creating space for himself. And once he has space to operate, that's where he is dangerous. He's still getting his shots. Like, I think he had 4 shots and 7 attempts yesterday. And that's, again, on this long list of things that don't really make sense about the Canucks' first 20 games, Quinn has 1 goal, and it was an empty net goal in Dallas. And it's not for a lack of shots, and maybe this is just sport and hockey, and he's due a few here at some point. But for a guy who always talks about working on his shot and got to 17 goals not that long ago, he's sitting on 1, and it's an empty netter. He hasn't beaten a goaltender yet for a goal this National Hockey League season. So throw that on the list of some strange stats around the Vancouver Canucks. But through it all, they somehow have scratched and clawed and managed to tread water here at 9-9-2.
I know you were joking about the David Kampf thing, Jeff, but temperature check here on Petey. Take a look at this. Halfway through the month of November, it's 9 points in 7 games, but all those block shots, we talked about block shots in the opening block. He's on a record-setting pace for a forward, and all of those face-offs, and of course, so many of them in the defensive zone, because the head coach doesn't trust many other centermen to play in that part of the ice. I mean, is it possible here that, Kampf and maybe Hedl, who's skating again, can help unlock Pettersson when they get into this lineup, allow him to play the offensive side of the puck a little bit more and in the offensive zone a little bit more?
Yeah, and I want to be totally clear here. Look, this market leads the NHL in snark per 60. We get that, right? So the minute they sign David Kampf, the savior, the rebuild's done, all that kind of crap. Forget that. This is a team that can't kill penalties, hasn't won many faceoffs, and is paper thin at center ice. Like, I think people recognize that. So you've got a guy who fell out of favor with one person, and that one person just happened to be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there wasn't a fit for David Kampf with the Leafs. That doesn't mean that he's not a National Hockey League player. He is limited offensively. We get that. But the one thing he's done throughout his career is win more faceoffs than he loses. He was among the Leafs' top penalty-killing forwards. And this team has a need. So to get him at a shade over $1 million, prorated over this, like, no problems whatsoever. In some ways, he's a Teddy Bluger clone. And when Bluger comes back, that will create some questions, but that's for another day. Right now, I think that you stick him in there. You ask him to take on a few of the defensive zone faceoffs at the very least that Elias Pettersson's had. And if that can give Petey a little more juice offensively, save him up, conserve some energy. Maybe you can find some more favorable matchups, all those types of things. Like, I don't see a downside here for the Vancouver Canucks in signing camp, but also in what it could. Is that a trickle-up effect, I suppose, when you look at the Canucks depth chart? Whatever the case here, again, nobody has great expectations that David Kampf is going to turn this team into anything more than it already is, but they have a need. He was available. It seemed like a marriage of convenience. This way he stays in the NHL. The opportunity is there for him, and it might just free up a guy like Elias Pettersson to drive a little more offense.
A word or two on Kevin Lankinen, because he crept over the bar of goals saved above expected this weekend with his performances.
Yeah, and at 2-0 and that game threatening to get away, he made some stops. I think of a bang play on the doorstep against Jake Guentzel in the second period. And Guentzel scored in the game and has scored a bunch against the Canucks. If he gets that one, it's a 3-1 hockey game, and maybe the comeback never has an opportunity. So there were some situational saves, and that's one thing the Canucks really have got a lot of. We know Thatcher Demko, for the most part, has been terrific when he's been healthy and in there, and Lankinen's given up a few too many goals, but there have also been games and moments in games where he has come through and delivered, and I think Sunday certainly goes into that pile. And so now the question is, do they dare run him out back-to-back for the second straight weekend, 3-4? He's a gamer, and last week after going back-to-back, he was like, I felt good. I wouldn't mind playing a third game. That's fine. Hang on, Kevin. It's a long season, and they need you. And so, one worry is injury, just the workload here, and not a lot of time for his body to reset. Now, over the final half of yesterday's game, he wasn't terribly busy, so it wasn't like he ended up facing 45 shots and 90 attempts like he did the other night in Carolina. It's pretty clear that they don't have a lot of trust in Jiri Patera, but do they have to go down that road? And I guess we'll find out. And Adam Foote wasn't tant here, but I wondered if they would have gone Patera in Tampa against a Bolts team that had played the day before and had all those injuries and ultimately didn't score a lot of goals, and that could have allowed Lankinen to rest, but they chose to go the other way. They get 3 of 4 points. So are they playing with house money on this road trip? Does that factor into it? My concern isn't so much that Kevin Lankinen can't play again and deliver for them, but what is the cumulative effect here? And if something were to go sideways with him, then that's a totally different conversation. Now, the one thing they have working for them is when they get through this game against the Panthers, the schedule really lightens up for the first time all season, right? 2 games in the next 9 nights. They're both at home. And so they could, sock him away and give him, if he needs a maintenance day in there, whatever, they could go down that road. So my gut tells me that they're going to run him out again against the Panthers here. But part of the problem too, guys, is that we've heard that Nikita Tolopilo's getting closer in Abbotsford, but he didn't dress for either of Abby's games over the weekend. So if he's not ready to play in the American Hockey League, he's not ready to play in the National Hockey League. So is it the Kevin Lankinen show for the foreseeable future? And the other part to that is when Patrick Allvin did his Zoom on Sunday with the media here, and I asked him about Thatcher Demko, and I said, the 2 to 3 week timeline that's been presented, does that line up with what the hockey club feels? And he certainly didn't say yes to that. He just said, we're just saying that he's week to week. And so with Demko, you just never know. But they're going to have to forge on without Demko. We know that. And so is it going to be Kevin Lankinen every time out? That just feels like they are playing with fire, especially given the injury situation that they've already incurred this year.
As we hit the 20 game mark, do you have any different of an opinion now on this team than you did 5 games ago? Is their ability to stay at 500 admirable enough that you feel like this team may be invested in by management?
I wouldn't want to see them spend a ton of assets. I just think the long game here is that at 500, you can tip your cap to them and say there were lots of reasons why they shouldn't even be at 500, but at 9-9-2, they've still got a lot of work to do. Things that surprise me, they've scored a little more than I thought they might. Like that 2-1 loss in Nashville at the end of the first road trip, and I know the road trip had gone reasonably well, but lost 5-1 in Pittsburgh and 2-1 in Nashville. And I thought, like this is sort of the start of this real struggle to put pucks in the net. And yet they have surprised on that front. They've got 60 goals in their 20 games. So they're ahead of their pace from last year. They've scored the same number of goals as the Edmonton Oilers. Like, you kind of stop and you think about that with the Vancouver Canucks, and that makes, again, not a lot of sense, but they've scored enough. They've given up way too much, and obviously the penalty kill has been a huge part of that. There have been some surprises on both sides. Like the fact that Evander Kane, 20 games in, doesn't have a 5-on-5 goal, and yet is third in the NHL among forwards in 5-on-5 ice time, which is just, like, that's madness to think how much he is playing, and yet his goals have come, a pair of them have come 6-on-5, and one at 5-on-4. So he doesn't score 5-on-5. Jake DeBrusk has one 5-on-5 goal. And then the flip side of that coin is at the 20-game mark, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, and Brock Besser each have one power play goal. And you'd think, the power play must be in the sewer, but Jake has gone wild on the power play. Kiefer Sherwood has picked up a few along the way. Power play is actually all right. It's in the top half of the National Hockey League. And maybe Sunday was the worm turning with this penalty kill and some of the tweaks that they have made. I guess I need to see a few more games of that. But overall, I thought this team was going to struggle offensively, and they really haven't. And that's allowed them to stay in these games and strike when the opportunity presents itself to grind out a few more points and a few more victories along the way than maybe I had anticipated.
I caught this discussion on RinkWide, but MacEachern, Jeff, 4 points in 5 games, including a pair against Tampa. Are we talking about a journeyman late bloomer regular in this Vancouver Canucks lineup? A word or two about him.
Yeah, well, I haven't been able to use this for a while, but I like guys that get called up to do something. And this guy suddenly has 4 points in the games that he's played. And so when you look around, and I don't want to pick on Archie Bains, but Archie Bains has basically been an every night player up until he was benched for MacEachern, and there wasn't the something in Archie Bains' game in somehow, some way. And maybe it does speak to a little bit of experience. This guy has been around the block. He's played in the National Hockey League. He's played NHL playoff games. In fact, his last goal came in the postseason. It had been a while since he had scored in the regular season, but a big body that seems to win his share of battles along the boards, and coaches love that. We know Rick Tocchet did, and Adam Foote cut from the same cloth here. I think when guys are sort of in those role positions, coaches just want to believe that they're going to make the right play, the safe play, and get out of trouble. And I think for the most part, he has done that. And now he's added this element of a little bit of offense, and not to blow anybody away, but I knew he was at training camp, but honestly, I have zero recollection of anything that he did. Remember, Joe LeBate made it like deep into the second week of the preseason. And Joe LeBate got recalled and played one game, and here's MacEachern, who right now looks like they can't bring him out of the lineup. And so good for him. Like I like those kinds of stories, that this is a guy that stuck with it and plied his trade in the minors, and I probably saw an opportunity to get this chance in the Vancouver organization at some point, but maybe it's come sooner than he had anticipated with all the injuries that the hockey clubs incurred. Whatever the case, like, he doesn't look out of place in the National Hockey League or in this lineup. And so I can't imagine that he's the guy that comes out as they make room for David Kampf here and have to make some roster manipulations and those types of things. And so we'll see where it goes. But in the short term, I don't know that he's here to stay, but I don't think he's going anywhere in the immediate future based on the way that he has performed.
Yeah, how can you? Lastly, for me, Jeff, just the week ahead, you've referenced it a little bit already, Florida today, and then finally a chance to breathe and get some rest.
Yeah, and I think the Canucks are doing like they did in the last road trip, where they're overnighting in Florida and flying home on Tuesday, because they've got the benefit of a couple of extra days between games. And so my belief is they'll practice Wednesday, play Dallas on Thursday. That'll bring this 6-game gauntlet to an end, but they've managed to pick up points in most of these games so far, and we'll see how it wraps up. But and then a few more days off before they host the Calgary Flames. So it's a brief 2-game homestand, but it spans the better part of a week and a couple of days before they're back out on the road and do the California thing. And that's looking like it's going to be a challenge in and of itself, but they can't worry about those California teams right now. But I think the start this week, they have an opportunity. Like the Florida Panthers, obviously without Sasha Barkov and without Matthew Tkachuk, they struggle to score goals. They're fairly stingy defensively, and it sounds like Bob's going to be in goal. And so no backup for the Florida Panthers in this one. But I do think that there's an opportunity here for the Canucks. And I guess I'm curious as much about the outcome as I am the process here. Again, like I need to see them be ready from the drop of the puck and try to possess the puck a little bit more than they have the first 2 stops of this road trip. But ultimately, they have found their way to work their way into games here. 3 of 4 points, hard to argue with that, and we'll see where it goes. But I think they've got a chance here. They swept the Panthers last year, including a shutout on home ice and an overtime win in Sunrise early in the season. So what an opportunity to get 5 of 6 points in a road trip that we built up with the ominous travel and the short time span and not much rest here. And again, somehow, some way, really, and this goes for all 20 games so far, they have found a way when maybe you think that they wouldn't.
And past the quarter mark now of the road record, and the rest of the conference, Jeff, it's weird. It's a weird start to the season. There's a lot of parity, and some of the teams that are at the top of the division, of course, are odd as well. LA, Anaheim, Seattle, nobody would have said that 1, 2, 3,
right,
through 20 games of the season either. So it is a strange start to the year. And teams like Vegas are starting to lose now. I don't know. Minnesota and St. Louis looking as mediocre as they are. It's weird.
Well, and we had Jeff Merrick on Friday when you weren't here, and that was Jeff's point. He was like, it has just been a drab first 20 games, basically league-wide here. They're, the Bedard and Celebrini stories have been terrific, and Nathan McKinnon, what he's doing in Colorado. But beyond that, it does feel like one giant mud puddle, and the Canucks are splashing around in it with a bunch of other teams.
They are. Got the gumboots on.
I love the analogy. All right, Jeff, we'll be watching, listening RinkWide Vancouver tonight following the game against Florida. And, of course, Thursday back home here against Dallas. And we'll catch up with you on Friday. Thanks for this, buddy.
Yeah, sounds good. Irf is back after his birthday weekend. We gave him the weekend off, but he'll be back in the chair there. So, yes, RinkWide after the Canucks and the Panthers.
Seahawks Price from the historic Wall Center and the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. Of course, you've got your S&P rate available to you here. So if there's a big game downtown, make it more tonight, make it a memory. Stay at the Wall Center with an exclusive Seahawks Price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Some blackout dates supply based on availability. Well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders are the winners of the 112th Grey Cup. Just the 5th time they've hoisted the Grey Cup in their history. 25-17, they beat the Montreal Alouettes. Trevor Harris nearly perfect in this game, being named the MOP, 23 of 27 for 302 yards, the Riders quarterback. Wide receiver Sam Emelis, the most outstanding Canadian, with 10 grabs for 108 yards. Huge nights for a pair of Riders defenders. Devon Campbell, the DB, with a pick, and he forced that Alouettes fumble on the goal line with 3 minutes left. That was the key play. It was recovered by former Lion Marcus Sales, who also had a pick in this game. Montreal quarterback Davis Alexander, now 13-1 as a starter in his CFL
Terrible.
career.
Inexcusable.
I do think the hamstring was bothering him more than he let on. I know he grabbed at it late, but the first throw of the game comes up a little shy. I wonder if he was able to drive the ball. Winnipeg was a great host.
I was going to say, it does make you wonder what the Lions would have done here with this team. It does make you wonder if the Lions get through the Riders, do they do the same bit of business to Montreal that the Riders ended up doing?
Yeah. Winnipeg, by all accounts, a great host. Even the weather cooperated. Not an all-time classic game by the Grey Cup's extremely high standard.
No.
But it ends with a Hail Mary throw to the end zone, a suspenseful moment. And, of course, the Bombers were choked to see their arch rivals lift the chalice on their home field. Did you see this tweet from them? That's very good on the admin. Well, at least the sun will explode one day and none of this will matter. Well done.
Oh, that's pretty good. At the same time, I will say, with only 5 Grey Cups under their belt here all time, the Riders are a cornerstone franchise of the league based on their support. like we do need to feed the beast every now and then, you know.
Oh,
like
for sure. Yeah.
You know, like this is good for that franchise to get one here. They're more than welcome to go 15 years without another one here, but they do every once in a while.
That's right.
Need to get a championship.
And, of course, we had some fun with Glenn Suter about that last week. He, of course, part of the 89 Rider Championship team. We're wondering who might have a street name for them in Regina off of this team. Trevor Harris Way.
The new there you go.
Yeah, that's right. The new commissioner, Stuart Johnston, gets booed on the podium. We mentioned last week that Angus Reid poll showing 70+% of existing CFL fans don't approve of the rule changes. The other thing I missed last week, apparently announcing all these rule changes, some of them that have some similarity to the American game, the timing of it apparently did not work for the CFL because of this surge of Canadian patriotism. Blake. So next year we'll have a running clock except for the final 3 minutes. The benches will be on opposite sides of the field, which should facilitate substitutions and minimize delays. And the Rouge will be conceded, not kicked through. 3 of the 6 big changes going into effect next season. The LA Rams are Sam Darnold's kryptonite, and the Seattle Seahawks are Matthew Stafford's domestique. Seahawks quarterback throws 4 picks yesterday in a loss. Of course, he also lost to Sean McVay, Stafford, and the Rams last year in the postseason with Minnesota. Matthew Stafford, now 6-0 as the Rams quarterback against Seattle. I think Darnold's MVP case, needless to say, took a big hit. The Rams run just 50
it wasn't dominant, though. It wasn't dominant. Like a lot of these have been really ugly losses. This was ugly in a different way because of 4 picks, but this was not like Stafford threw the lights out and
Blake, the Rams ran just 50 plays to Seattle 79. Stafford throws for $130. The difference, LA scores 3 touchdowns. Seattle scores 1. And they also missed a 61-yard field goal, which would have won at the gun. 7-3 now for Seattle, a half game ahead of San Francisco and a game back of LA in the NFC West. They'll meet again on Thursday Night Football, December 18th in Seattle. Seahawks into Tennessee next week. That should be a sitter. Outstanding weekend for the NFL, though. OT games, 1-score games, field goal games. Philadelphia, Detroit on Sunday Night Football was not one of them.
The primetime games have been dreadful. So many dreadful primetime games.
Yeah. And Dallas, Vegas tonight. Eagles won a slobber knocker 16-9. They remain atop the NFC at 8-2. Denver 9-2 after a victory over now 5-5 Kansas City. Kansas City, Blake, was the morning line favorite yesterday to win the Super Bowl still. Methinks that's going to change. Buffalo gets 44-32 over Tampa. That was a fun game.
Well, that's the second time that Allen has thrown for 3 and run for 3 in the same game in his career. That is a day's work for a quarterback. My gosh. Throwing for 3 and running for 3.
That is a hell of a stat. Chicago walks it off with the field goal to beat Minnesota 1917. The Bears are 7-3 here.
Breakfast with the Bears. I watched a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were. It was our annual pilgrimage to the Pemby to go taunt Cam and all those Vikings fans. Anyways, we had a blast. And how about Jacoby Brissett in defeat to San Francisco? The Cardinals quarterback sets an NFL record, 47 completions. He completes 82.5% of his attempts, also a record for a QB throwing for more than 450 yards. Final line, 47 of 57 for 452, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Arizona ran the ball just 14 times. They said, Jacoby, we're going to live and die with your arm today. Of course, that was San Francisco winning, so they're still in the mix here atop the NFC West, Blake, lest we write off the 49ers. Should be a fun.
A couple big quarterback injuries too. Michael Penix is gone for the season. It sounds like, and Aaron Rodgers. It sounds like is injured as well. So the injuries in sport just seem so prominent. Maybe we're just viewing it through a Canucks lens here, but my God, you look at the Montreal Canadiens and all these quarterbacks. It's just rampant, Matt.
I was sitting there looking at my phone, and the Adam Schefter notifications yesterday of injuries in those games was extraordinary. Very sad news from the Seahawks as one of the best players in franchise history, bar none, passes away this weekend at age just 66. Kenny Easley had suffered kidney problems in retirement. He's a Hall of Fame safety. He was one of the true intimidators and ball hawks at that position in league history. Nicknamed the Enforcer, one of the few safeties in league history to be a top 5 pick. He was the number 4 overall selection in 1981 after a 3-time All-America career at UCLA. And I mean, if you're going to pick a safety in the top 5 of the NFL draft, boy, he better have a career. And Kenny sure did. He redeemed that selection and more. Just one of 5 safeties all time to win the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I heard some of the commentary coming out of the Emerald City yesterday, Blake, and all of them said he was a forerunner to the Legion of Boom, right? Like he could hit like Cam Chancellor. He could cover like Earl Thomas. He was a true franchise defensive back in those early years for the Seahawks when, needless to say, Largent was getting a lot of the accolades for what he was doing. But I think if you're starting a list today of the 5 best Seattle Seahawks of all time, Kenny Easley is certainly on it.
And look at the shoulder pads. Imagine trying to get an interception with those shoulder pads on. How do you raise your hands to catch the ball?
Yeah. And he could hit you too.
Yeah.
Wow. What a football player. Congratulations to the Vancouver Rise, champions of the inaugural Northern Super League, a 2-1 comeback victory over Toronto in Toronto on Saturday. Morgan McCaslin is the final MVP. She was the heroine in the semifinal as well against Ottawa. Blake, this match was paused 30 minutes for a weather delay, and it turned the momentum in favor of the visitors. They came out of the break scoring. They win the Diana B. Matheson Cup, inaugural champion of this league. The Rise won the title from third place. They finished third place in the regular season, despite the fact they had an 8-match unbeaten streak at one point. The party was on as the team touched down at YVR yesterday. And I love this. They are going to make their fans part of the celebration on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the Hollywood Theater from 6 to 9. Fans, friends, media are all invited to join the celebration. They're saying team introductions, heartfelt player speeches, players and staff presenting the cup to their loyal fans. So have at it, Vancouver Rise. What a marvelous season right out of the block.
I've never seen a weather delay like that. It was just rain. There was no electricity that I could see. And they just thought they should wait it out, allow the pitch to dry out a little bit. They come back out. They look great. And the game winner scored by Holly Ward, the 22-year-old from what high school? Handsworth Royals.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, we were watching that Handsworth left tackle for the Bears yesterday in North Van. He had a constituency, Theo Benedette. Toronto's got to be chafed about that, though, huh? You're on your home field. You call the weather delay. And then the moment you get back on the pitch, the other side has the wind in its sails. Game week finally here for Vancouver Whitecaps FC, and it is now a sellout at BC Place Saturday when the Caps take on their arch nemesis LAFC in a Western Conference semifinal in MLS. In MLS, of course, the LAFC has knocked the Caps from the playoffs in the last 2 seasons, so looking to slay a dragon here. Canadian men's national team news. They are appealing Ali Ahmed's controversial red card against Ecuador in the hopes of limiting his potential ban to just 1 match. But this week for the Caps, he'll play. He'll play. I know you weren't with us on Friday, Blake, but needless to say, Jeff and I were We were a little upset about a red card in the 6th minute of a friendly when it couldn't have been reviewed. I mean, just a deplorable decision from the referee. So Canada gets nothing out of that match with Ecuador. Ecuador doesn't get much out of it either. Alphonso Davies is back training with Bayern, so that's good news for the Canadian men's national team, who make another change today. Kyle Larin out, and Schaffelberg is back in. We knew he was nursing an injury.
And Larin is injured as well, so that was why it wasn't just a strategic substitution. Larin dinged as well.
And an incredible scene this weekend in World Cup qualifying in Europe as Ireland's Troy Parrott scores in the 96th minute to give his country a 3-2 win over Hungary and punch its ticket to the last chance FIFA World Cup playoff qualifier. Blake, Ireland needed to beat mighty Portugal last week just to keep the dream alive. And then this Parrott, and this Parrott is certainly not deceased, Blake. This Parrott is alive, and so is Ireland. Look at the scene in the Dublin airport last night. People going absolutely or Saturday, people going absolutely crazy as he gets this tiny flick on the ball to keep them alive in World Cup qualifying.
Just a toe. Just a little
barely
toe.
Scraped the ball. Absolutely. Yeah. And we were already a minute past what they had added, or in seconds past what they had added. So you knew it was going to hold up. And quite a weekend for Irish football or soccer, Blake. We talked about that U17 World Cup, Canada and Ireland in the round of 32. Did you see how that one ended?
Oh my God! The behavior was the behavior was something else. The Irish were leaning into all Irish sort of stereotypes. They were filthy mouth after every penalty goal. They were in the faces of the Canadian. Every epithet you can think of was being uttered. It was feisty. And it goes to that 10th round before Ireland prevails. It was too bad.
9-8 in penalties. The Irish beat the Canadians in an extended penalty kick shootout at the U17 World Cup to advance. The Irish coach, Blake, his name is Colin O'Brien, believe it or not.
Yeah. No, it was...
Anyways, congratulations.
And that was in Qatar, too. And
yes.
both of the teams had significant contingencies in the crowd. Like there was Go Canada Go, Ireland was, I mean, it's too bad. That's the farthest a Canadian men's team has ever gone in any World Cup. So the senior team will now try to best that.
Well, I sure hope we make it to the round of 32, at least in this expanded World Cup next year. Baseball, where Canadian Josh Naylor is re-signing with the Seattle Mariners on a 5-year deal, the first of the big MLB free agents to sign. No contract details yet. He hit .299 with 9 home runs and 19 steals for the M's after coming over from Arizona at the trade deadline. Then he hits .417 with 3 bombs in the postseason. He was the perfect fit for what ailed that Seattle lineup, and now the big offseason priority for the club has been checked off the list. Nice work there from M's management. Golf, where Abbotsford's Adam Hadwin collapses in the final round of the Bermuda Championship yesterday. He cards a 75 to finish T11th. He had led this tournament through the first 2 rounds. He lost the lead late in the day on Saturday with a bogey. He entered the final round just 1 stroke back. He is trying to keep his tour card for 2026. He hasn't ever lost it since earning it 11 years ago. He did improve from 147th to 138th in the FedEx Cup standings. The problem is he has just 1 tournament left. It's this weekend's RSM Classic in Georgia. Top 125 have conditional status on the PGA Tour next year. The top 100 get their tour cards. Hadwin pretty much needs to win this thing, Blake, which is too bad because he was right there in position this weekend to lift the trophy and secure his future.
If he finishes third, he's climbing a handful more spots. Like every spot in that top 10 would have put him in better stead than he is now. It's too bad. 75.
Yeah, it really is. Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy, a part-time player on the DP World Tour, wins his 7th Race to Dubai title to cap a sensational year that saw him complete the career Grand Slam with a victory at Augusta, famously the Masters, in April's 5th major championship win. He won at Pebble Beach, an iconic venue. He won at TPC Sawgrass, the Players, an iconic venue. He had another Irish Open championship on home soil. And then he goes out and he makes eagle on the final hole, Blake, to force a playoff with Matt Fitzpatrick in this event. He lost in extra holes, but he won the season title. 2025, a year where Rory McIlroy cemented his legacy in the game of golf. Results of the Redwoods Golf Course poll question from Friday. Do you believe this Canucks ownership will ever allow a rebuild? Yes or no, Blake? The people said.
People said no.
Yeah. Percentage?
91.
95. And I'm seeing more and more of this. I heard some of this weekend while out and talking to sports fans. No, and this is a account called Funnier Handle. No, and it's why my 24-year fandom is waning. They're going to learn a very hard way that you're not going to get much fan excitement if you don't give your fans hope or quality. Bobby says stop going to games at Rogers Arena if you want to get their attention. There's a better product across the street with the Whitecaps. Nabil says the only way is every game fans start chanting, "We want rebuild." Works every time when you want to get someone fired. And Brad says a full-on boycott may be the only way to get the organization to listen to the market. All of that said, fair enough. I hear where you're at. I certainly remember where you were at on Friday. 3 out of points over the weekend. Winning cures everything, right? Another salve applied.
Yes, to some degree, Matt, but those are road points. Like, if every time your paying public shows up at their arena and they don't get winning feeling, I think that has an effect.
Mm-hmm. Errors and omissions from yesterday's program and beyond. When we were talking about the spring and summer schedule for Vancouver sports, of course, this in the vein of the Whitecaps moving or the MLS moving its schedule, didn't mention the Bandits play a May August schedule in the CEBL. And Yerke tells me I missed his last name. I called him John Skipper as opposed to John Schneider, Jay Skipper, last week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Costs you nothing, for free. Follow on social. That's X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, typically noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support those community sponsors we keep telling you about and keep it local.